Hello soulmate, yeah, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's tutorial video, I'll be teaching you guys how to draft and cut this beautiful dress you're seeing on your screen. In my next video, I'll be uploading the sewing tutorial of this dress. So if this is what you're interested in, please keep on watching and let's get started. So I've already gone ahead to roll out all the lines. So the next thing we're going to be doing now is to divide my shoulder measurement. My client's shoulder is 15, divided by 2 is 7.5, but I decided to use 7. And then I'll be using 3 inches on my neck width. Then on the shoulder point, I'm going to be coming down by 0.75 for my shoulder slope, and then I'll be connecting it to meet the neckline, as you can see. Then I'm labeling my line. The first line is our shoulder line, our chest line, our bust line, under bust line, and finally our waistline. So we are drafting the upper part of our dress first. So the next thing, I'm going to come down by the neck width. I'll be using 4 inch for my neck width. I use 3 inches for my neck width. I'm using 4 inches for my neck depth. So I'm going to use my covering now to draw out our neck, as you can see. So the next thing we're going to be doing now is to measure our armhole. So to get our armhole, I'll take the same measurement I have on my shoulder, also on my chest line, which is 7. Then I'll use my ruler to draw a straight line from the shoulder point to meet the chest line. So now I'm going to be dividing what I have there by 2. Whatever at that point where I divide, I'll come out by half an inch in order to get my armhole, that's my armhole curve. So I'll be taking my round bust measurement on my chest line divided by 4. I mark it there. Then I'm using my curve rule to connect all the 3 points together to get my armhole curve, as you can see. So to get your armhole line or your armhole curve, you divide your round bust measurement by 6. Whatever you get, you add 1.5. That's how you get your armhole. Now I'm taking my nipple to nipple measurements. So I took my nipple to nipple is 9 is 4, 8 divided by 2 is 4. So I mark it on my bust point and also on my waistline. So this dress is a princess dart. The upper part is a princess dart. So on the other bust point, I came in by half of an inch, as you can see, and then I later came in by 1 inch, and I went out by 1 inch on both sides. So I used 1 inch on both sides of the dress. So I went in by 1 inch and I also came out by 1 inch. I'll also be taking the same measurement on down part, 1 inch, and then the other side 1 inch. Then I'll be using my straight ruler to connect. If you don't understand what I'm saying, just look at what I'm doing and then follow. So after connecting, on my bust point, I came down by half of an inch. And then on my armhole, I used my tape to measure my armhole curve, and then I divided it by 2 to make a point. So where my point is, I'm going to be using my curve rule to connect from the half length of my armhole to meet my nipple. To meet my nipple points on the fabric. Just look at what I'm doing. I'm trying to get the princess dart curve. Like I said earlier, to get your armhole depth from your shoulder to your chest line, you divide your round bust measurement by 6. Whatever you get after dividing, you add 1.5. Whatever you get is yours. When I did mine, I had 7.5. So now I've made the curve. So on the dart leg, I went up by half inch and I also came down by half inch. So I'm also going to be using my cover now to slope it down to meet the nipple point, as you can see me doing. Please, if you are watching this tutorial to this point, please leave a lovely comment, like and subscribe so that you get notified when I upload any tutorial. So now I've drawn out our princess dart curve. So what we have there is 1 inch. So I also come out by 1 inch on my dart leg. Then I also come out by 1 inch on the armhole, and then I'll redraw our armhole curve so that when we are joining the piece together, one part of it will not be longer than the other one. So that's what I try to do to get our curve back, as you can see. So now I'm going to be using my curve rule to connect from the bust point to meet the under bust point, as you can see. So I'm just trying to indicate the part I'll be cutting out. So the next thing we're going to be doing now is to take our body measurement. So my round bust divided by 4, I indicated it, and then I add extra 2.5 inches for my seam allowance, and then I take the little dot on the bust area, and then it was about half an inch, and I also mark. Then my waist divided by 4 is 7.25. I marked. I also mark my dart of 2 inches. I also replace it back, and then I add 2.5 for my seam allowance. After doing that, I'm going to be using my curve rule. I like to use my curve rule instead of my straight rule to connect from my bust, from my chest line to meet my waistline. So the next what we're going to be doing now, we're going to be cutting this out. Before we do that, I'm going to be adding ½ inch on my shoulder line for my shoulder joining. So after marking it, I'll roll it out. So I'm labeling the center front and the side fronts. So next we are going to be doing now, we're going to be cutting it out. So I've gone ahead to cut it out. Remember, sorry I didn't mention, I cut my fabric on fold. Yes, I cut. The pattern paper was on fold. So while I was drafting, so I'm done cutting it out. Now to get the asymmetric neckline, because this dress is a one hand a dress, so I connect from the neck to half of my armhole. As you can see, I connect from the neck to half of my armhole. So I'm going to be cutting it out. So now we're going to be drafting the back of our shirts, of the upper part of our dress. So I also folded my fabric, my pattern paper. I also folded my pattern paper into two, so that when I open it up, I'll be able to trace out the neck. So I'm gonna to label shoulder, chest line, bust line, and our waistline. This is the back, so there's no need for underbust. And I also labeled our zipper line. So I went in by 0.5 for my zipper, and then my shoulder I indicated it, which is 7, and then on the chest line I also indicated 7, and then for my neck width I'm using 3. Then on the shoulder line I came down by 0.75, and then I connect it to my neck width to get our shoulder slope, and then I connect from the shoulder to the chest line to get our armhole, and then for the neck depth I came down also by 4 inches because of the type of dress that we're making. It's a one hand off shoulder. So I also divide the armhole line by 2, and then I came out by 0.5. So now to get my bust point, I divide my bust point by 4, and I indicated it on the chest line. So I'm going to be using my curve rule now to draw out my armhole. Trying to make sure that all the 3 points are aligning so that I can be able to draw out my armhole. So I've done that. So now the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to use my curve rule to draw out my neckline at the back. So we have drawn out the neckline. Now we're going to be taking our nipple to nipple. Mine is 4. From the center I went in by 4 inches, and I'm going to use my ruler to connect from the chest line all the way to my waistline. Then I'm going to be taking half inch on both sides for my dart. So I added 2.5 inches for my round bust circumference, and then my waistline indicated my waist measurement. I added 1 inch for that, and also add 2.5 for my seam allowance. So I'm going to be connecting from my chest line now all the way down to my waistline. Then on my zipper allowance, I'm going to be coming out by 1 inch instead of 1.5, so I'm removing 0.5 inch. So I'm going to be, I made a mistake here. I was doing it the wrong way, but watch, I'm also going to correct it, as you can see. So I use my eraser to clean it, and then I'm going to, from that half an inch, I came out by I made really slant line to make the neck. So that helps to remove our zipper bulge. And on the shoulder line, I went up by half of an inch. This will serve as our shoulder joining. So the next what we're going to be doing now, we're going to be cutting the back out, as you can see. Before we cut it out, I went up on the zipper allowance line on the waistline by half of an inch, and then I use my straight rule to rule a straight line to connect. So now I'm going to be cutting it out. So like I said, I also cut out the back piece on fold. I cut out 2 pieces of it, as you can see, in order for us to get our line, a symmetric line. So I also came down, sorry that part was not showing, I also came down by half of my armhole, which I use 4 inches. So I use my straight rule to connect, and then I'll cut it out. So I indicated the left and the right side of my pattern paper so that it will be easier for me to work with. So now we're cutting out the skirt part. I've already taken the measurement. I didn't know that my phone was not recording. I'm really sorry. I thought my phone was recording. It stopped recording. So I've gone ahead to measure, take my waist measurement and my hip measurement, and also the curve, as you can see on your screen. So right now I'm just cutting it out. So I measure from my waist to my hip. I usually use 9, so depends on your own. I use 9 from my waist to my hip. I use my 9. So I took my waist circumference and also my hip circumference, and then I indicated it. Now I've cut this everything. I've cut out both the front pieces and the back piece, as you can see. In our next tutorial, I'll be uploading the sewing